Hey folks, today I just want to give you a little advance notice of an upcoming conference in Jyotish towards the end of November, so it's about 7 weeks away. This is the annual Parashara Conference, which is held online. This year's dates are November 21st to 25th of 2024, and I'll be speaking on November 22nd, the subject being predicting with VIMSHOTTAri, DASHAS, and BHUKTIS. Although there's more to it than that, which I'll get into in just a moment. But if you haven't registered already, I hope you'll consider signing up for this conference, along with myself and a dozen other very well-known Jyotishi from around the world. There's also yet another dozen up-and-coming Jyotishis who are not so well-known, and which, so many of us are looking forward to seeing what they've got to teach us. So a little bit about my lecture/workshop. It's 2.5 hours long, so we're going to get into the weeds and the meat and potatoes, as it were. So the subject is predicting with VIMSHOTTAri, DASHAS, and BHUKTIS. But the VIMSHOTTAri dasha system is just an overriding mechanism by which we can analyze the prognosis for events and circumstances in the life of the individual whose horoscope we're studying. So, many things are involved in preparing to study the period lords and their effects. First among which is yogas. So, yoga vichara is a fundamental foundation for any horoscopic analysis. And once you have determined which yogas exist within a horoscope, and also having assessed their strength as well through their component participants through a process of graha vichara, which planets are weak, strong, middling, or ordinary, we then have a better sense of what those yogas promise in the course of a life. And then over the run of VIMSHOTTAri, dashas, and their BHUKTIS, these yogas are activated. So, some yogas manifest their effects throughout the life. Others, the majority of them, are activated only under conjoined period lords of their participant grahas. Now, as you know, some yogas are formed with just one graha, most or many with two, and some with three. So all of this comes into play when analyzing the appropriate dasha bhukti combination to elicit the promise of any given yoga. So that's a fundamental aspect of all of this. Now, dashas and bhuktis, many people are familiar with the broad principles, which is that, we look at the dasha lord, we look at the bhukti lord, we consider how strong or weak or ordinary are those grahas in the horoscope, but then to what houses, what bhavas do they occupy, what bhavas do they rule, and what bhavas do they aspect. So we engage in Bhava Vichara as a preparatory process to get ready to do Dasha Vichara or Bhukti Vichara. So yogas, house analysis, preparatory to Dasha Bhukti analysis. Then there's another wrinkle in all this as well too. As per a Nadi principle, which was since popularized, I'll say, through Krishnamurti Paddhati, there's this principle which says that during the run of a period lord, and we could be talking about a dasha, or we could be talking about a bhukti, that period lord will primarily give results for its nakshatra dispositor, otherwise known as its starlord in the lingo of KP. So there's another nuance to all this as well too. Aside from, two planets in a prominent yoga occupying, ruling, and aspecting certain houses in the chart to lead us to believe, the effects will be, contained or restrained or focused upon those particular prominent bhavas, we also have this other matter to consider, which says that the period lord may also invoke the results for its nakshatra dispositor. And then we need to look and see what yogas are those starlords involved in, and weave all this together. So, as I've described it here, it's essentially, three components at least: the dasha bhukti mechanism, the fruition of yogas in the horoscope, and the notion of the nakshatra dispositor. Yet one more wrinkle, and that is the use of the amshas. With an accurately timed birth horoscope, where we can actually depend upon the disposition of the amshas. And some of these are fairly time sensitive. For instance, the Navamsha changes its lagna roughly every 12 to 15 minutes. So if your birth time is rounded off to the hour, that may be a bit suspect, and we might not want to trust too much in the orientation of the Navamsha. But if the birth time appears to be accurate to the minute, as per a hospital birth certificate, then we might take much greater confidence in the amshas, and especially if you're skilled enough to have rectified the horoscope, the birth time, in hindsight, looking at some circumstances and events in the person's life, then you might even be even more emboldened to trust those amshas. If so, then you can bring that into play as well too. And there's a whole body of rules about that. I've given this in a workshop before in a previous conference. It goes into quite a lot of detail, and we may not have time except to touch upon these principles in this particular 2.5-hour workshop. But certainly the whole notion of yogas as a fundamental foundation before analyzing dashas bhuktis, Bhava Vichara as something that goes hand in hand with that, and then the KP principle or Nadi principle of looking at the starlord / nakshatra dispositor of period lords, whether dashas or bhuktis. That will inform us to a significant degree that we might not otherwise have appreciated. So please consider signing up for this workshop and for the many others that are going to become available to you. I'll be speaking on Friday, I believe it's Thursday. No, it is Friday, November 22nd, in 7 weeks' time, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Alrighty, hope to see you there. Enjoy the conference. Thank you so much. Bye.